to do this. So my dog is trying to come in. Stop. Whoo! So I need to like so totally clear myself and take a breath because I have been in Salt Lake all day long. Dave just had dental surgery so that he can get a full set of dental implants. He has really, really bad teeth. Um, yeah, so his teeth are so decayed that they're almost soft. So I just brought him home. I'm praying that while I'm doing this, he stays in the house, that he doesn't leave. I do not feel like he is totally 100% cognitively back from being put under. So I'm praying that he doesn't get himself into trouble while I'm here. So we'll see. It was an interesting little 2-hour ride back home. So it took 5 hours for them to do the procedure. I went to Home Goods shopping, bought way more than I should have, but whatever. But I got some super cute treasures that I'll share with you. And so then we had a 2-hour drive back. So here we are. So I can see some of you. Hello, Teresa. Dave is doing pretty good. I think he's just starting to kind of come out of the like sort of fuzziness. So we'll see. We'll see how he goes. So, right, I need to pull myself together. I'm a little discombobulated, right? That's my favorite word when I get like that. Thank you for sharing, guys. If you're sharing my videos, you get to enter to win socks. I can't see the socks that we are giving away. I don't know where they are right now. Anyways, it's like I said, it's kind of a mess in here for a minute. Oh, I do have them, don't I? They're these ones. Okay, Hug Me socks. They're so cute. So I give these away. I'll give them away on Friday. Hello, Kathy. So if you share the video, any of my videos, then it enters you to win. Just go ahead and type shared. It helps me see that you shared. Okay, so what I wanted to talk to you tonight about, and I'm going to make this a little bit quicker than normal just because I do have Dave wandering aimlessly alone in the house after anesthesia. But I want to talk about letting go of things and how the best way to do that is and why it's so important. So emotions not admit. Emotions don't admit anything to us. They emit this energy field and they affect and determine the other types of people and situations that we ultimately attract. And so that's kind of the underlying reason of why this is so important. And I'm going to show that to you in a second when we talk about this more. I actually have this really cool book that I think I left in my truck. But it is called Letting Go, and I'll come back and comment on this video in the comment section. This really great book that you can get. But basically, it's just thinking about like attracts like, right? Negative attracts negative, positive attracts positive. You hear me say that all the time. So this is why at this point in my life, being 41 years old, I absolutely refuse to have anyone in my inner close circle that is not vibing at a vibing, that is not vibing high, because I just won't do it, because it creates more damage to you in your life, allowing people that are not vibing high to be around you than you could ever imagine. It really, really does. So I'm going to talk about when something happens to you. How do you stay at this high vibration? Because, right, raise your hand if you're like, well, I get really motivated. I read a good book. I hop on one of your videos. I wake up in the morning and I'm feeling really good. And then what happens to you? An emotion happens, right? An emotion happens. And when an emotion happens, an emotion is scientifically proven to be I like to call it a little ball because it's just easier to visualize, right? But it's not necessarily physically a ball, but it is a ball of energy. And so when we start thinking about this little thing of energy, so let's say that my little thing of energy, let's just use my situation today, is anxiety, right? I mean, I basically dropped my spouse off somewhere to get all of his teeth pulled out. And I was very anxious, not just because Dave was going under, but also because Dave has never gone under before. So I was like, what happens when you have anesthesia? How do you respond to that? And he was like, I have no idea. So, right, I'm having some anxiety. I also normally would have had, so before I worked on myself and before I did my own healing process, I would not have been able to drive around Salt Lake City and go shopping while Dave was getting his teeth pulled out. So I'm from a little tiny town. I'm from Cache Valley, Utah. There is not a lot of traffic here. We do not have freeways. So driving around in Salt Lake City is in and of itself an anxiety trigger for me in my previous life. So what did I do when I got to this spot today and I started feeling anxiety, right? So the wrong thing is what we all do. It starts to happen and then we're like, I'm going to fight it. I'm going to fight that anxiety. I don't want to have anxiety. I'm going to go shopping. I'm not going to worry about what Dave's doing. And I try to fight the anxiety. Okay. And we talked about this, I believe, last week or in one of my mornings. I do hop on live if you're wondering what I'm talking about. My mornings at 7:15 Mountain Standard Time every morning. I think I might have talked about this, but what we resist persists. And it's very much in agreement that you have to undo, because we think that when we start to feel that anxiety that we have to figure it out. We have to come up with a solution. We have to do something so that we can get a result. And that's actually completely untrue. So you actually want to do the opposite of resisting the anxiety. And this is what I did. So I literally was sitting in my truck in the parking lot before I left to go on my little shopping spree. By the way, I told Dave, I'm like, babe, you don't have to worry about how much money I'm spending because it's not gingerbread house season. And gingerbread houses are really my weakness. So guess what they make? Oh yeah, they make gingerbread Easter houses. So that didn't go over very well because I found some. Anyway, so you want to think about the emotion. So for me, right, my emotion was anxiety. So I literally sat in the parking lot in my truck and I just felt it. I felt it. I let it come. Now, there's a difference between feeling and thinking. Okay? So I'm going to feel my anxiety, but I'm not going to think about it. I'm not going to sit and think about why am I having anxiety. I'm not going to sit and think and vent about why I'm having anxiety. I'm not going to sit and think about my fear. What is my fear? I didn't sit and think about all the fears that I had, right? I didn't sit and think about, I shouldn't have anxiety. How dare I have anxiety? I didn't condemn myself. I didn't feel guilty about it. I just literally sat and relaxed and actually felt it. I just let my anxiety come. Now, naturally, as you just let your anxiety come, you actually start to get rid of it because you're not resisting it anymore. Okay. So when you don't resist it, is what happens to your emotion is it actually starts to dissipate. It actually starts to process. Now, for some of you that are like, I can't do that. I can't sit there. First of all, you're resisting the fact that you can't do it. So sometimes you have to actually focus on that. But what do I do so that I don't sit and start thinking about everything that's going on, right? It's what people do when they meditate. But I'm actually just going to think about nothing. Or if you can't get your brain to stop, then you do this really cool thing where you actually start feeling, this curiousness. I was like, what's the word? Creativity? No, that's not it. Curiousness, right? And I love Alice in Wonderland. So curiouser and curiouser. Just start questioning yourself. Start being like, this anxiety is weird. And I'm going to get rid of it. But you're stopping your functioning from worrying and you're stopping that process. And so if you just start thinking about things that actually don't even really pertain to your anxiety, like Alice in Wonderland's curiouser and curiouser, you can even start thinking about something like, I wonder how the Cheshire Cats would think about this. Like it really is. You're stopping that process and you're not resisting it. And basically is what I'm telling you to do is to ignore your thoughts, okay? Because your thoughts are actually not real. Woo! How many of you just had a blow up moment? your thoughts really are not real. There's nothing real about them, right? Your fears, it's not happening in the current moment. So if I'm sitting in my truck and I'm freaking out about, oh my gosh, Dave's under anesthesia, maybe he's not going to come back out. What if he's like, right? I mean, I remember a kid in high school that passed away from having his wisdom teeth out. A piece of gauze got stuck in his throat or something and he choked. Or I actually caught myself before I started doing this. I recalled a few years ago when a lady locally passed away. She went in for a simple hysterectomy and she passed away from it. And it was some like weird thing, right? So Dave says to me, like, as we're on the couch, he's like, as he goes to go back, he says, I'm going to see you again, right? And I'm like, yeah, but it does. It starts you thinking. And we have these stupid thoughts and they're not even real because they're part of our ego and they're part of fear. And so we tend to do this really big thing where I always tell my kids, like, stop imagining what's going to happen because you're imagining something that is way bigger and way worse than what's really going to happen, right? Now, somebody might be like, yeah, but sometimes bad things do happen. Okay, sometimes bad things do happen, right? But that is part of accepting life. And it's okay if it happens and it's okay if it doesn't. And for those of you that follow things like Buddha and that type of methodology, you know that there's this big thought process of avoiding things that you can get attached to. Okay. And if you're more like more things that flow for you are Christian and you want to go off of the teachings of Christ, like his is be in the world, but don't be of the world, right? Be in the world, but don't be of it. And that's what he's saying. Like, be in the world, but don't be attached to things in the world. So accepting that kind of ebb and flow can be really difficult, but don't allow yourself to get attached to stuff because that's where our thoughts come from, right? If I lose my job, what's going to happen? My house is going to be taken away from me. Instead of, if I lose my job, I'll figure out a new place to live or I'll get a new job, right? But that's how I tend to do it, right? I start thinking about, oh, COVID's happening. What if I lose my job? I'm going to lose my house. And then I just start magnifying it and I let my thoughts go wild. And then what happens? Not only do I have an emotion of fear, but holy Hannah, I'm creating all these other ones. So now I have not only anxiety and fear that I need to lose, but now I have nervousness and worry and shock and frustration and confusion. And do you see what happens? So that's why we want to just relax, feel our anxiety. You can even do the thing that I do, right? Because this is what I do when I do energy healing. It's just I'm a fidgeter. I'm a fidgeter and I play with my hands and I talk with my hands a lot. And so I also have my magnet and I do this a lot when I'm working on people. So I clear things by doing this because it's almost a visualization of me grabbing a hold of whatever it is that you need to get rid of and sending it out through your toes. But you don't even really have to do that, okay? So feeling that anxiety. All right, now, the more that you do this and the more that you let this go and the more that you practice it, right? Because we aren't taught this. Although it's a very natural phenomenon for us, we actually aren't taught it. Heaven forbid the culture would actually teach us how to manage our emotions correctly. But the more that you do it, this is what will happen to you. You will start becoming a witness to what is going on around you instead of feeling everything at an immense amount of emotional trauma. Okay. So you'll still feel things, but you'll feel the anxiety and you'll be like, oh, I'm having anxiety right now. And you're witnessing it happen, but you're not you're not identifying with it. So it's not taking a hold of you and crushing your soul and ripping your guts out, right? So after I did this today, I felt the anxiety. Of course, I practice this all the time. I breathed it out and I let it feel raw and real. And I didn't focus on my thoughts, just the anxiety alone. And then what happened? I was like, okay, I'm ready to go, right? And I was able to spend the entire day driving all over Salt Lake City by myself with my GPS. And you know what I thought? I had gratitude because I was like, man, this is so cool. I love that I have a navigation system in my car because it was just like turn right, exit here, looking for exit 298. And I was able to go to like 5 home goods stores and find all these cute little things, right? Teresa just said, oh, wow, I love that. Witnessing it versus victiming. That's exactly it. You hit the nail right on the head. Now, what if I slip up? It's going to happen, right? It's going to happen. There are moments, like I caught myself on the ride home actually getting a little frustrated, and I had to be like, and that's what I do, that deep breath, that for me, that really cognizant breathing in through the nose, exhaling out through the mouth is a really big trigger for my brain to be like, whoa, chill out, right? You can handle this. Just let things go. Because when I started coming home and my GPS told me what time I was going to get here, and I knew that my live was at 6 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, and I still knew that I needed to go get my son. I needed to go get my prescription. And plus I had Dave over there. Let me tell you what Dave was doing. It's rather hilarious. So I'll tell you. So apparently they had Dave put on like a pull-up, right? Like a adult undergarment. He decided that he was going to get undressed in my truck and take that off while I'm driving down the freeway. So I have a guy over here with gauze hanging out of his mouth, and he's completely stripping down to his butt nakedness, trying to pull off this Depends, which if he would have been a little more with it, I would have been like, babe, they just rip on the side so that they come off really easy. That's to make it simple. But, you know, he doesn't know that. So anyways, he completely undressed in my truck, down to his 100% manness. And so I had to do that with myself. I was like, I'm starting to feel anxious, worry, all this stuff, right? Because I knew I was going live, and I just stopped, and I did it. I felt it. And then this is the cool thing that happens when you do this. When you feel it and you start to dissipate that emotion, your brain kicks in. And guess what? It starts working again. Because what happens when you get all wrapped up, right? I call these people pingers. They're pinging off the wall. They're so wrapped up in their emotions, they stop freaking thinking. And I mean, I used to fly with a guy that tried to kill us because he did this. He decided that when we had a gauge, we were flying, we were in a Kyrgyzstan, and there's a gigantic mountain that you have to fly over right after takeoff. And so it is something we talk about when we brief. If we have an engine failure on takeoff, we will not cut the engine because we need it, even if it's not hardly giving us anything to make it over the mountain. So we, after takeoff, had an engine and the gauge went flat, okay? When a gauge goes flat, it doesn't mean that there's really anything wrong. And we already knew because we had it written up in our maintenance records that sometimes this gauge comes unplugged. This guy's emotions got the best of him. So guess what he did? He reached up, didn't follow procedure whatsoever, because you also don't, as a pilot, ever turn your engine completely to off without confirming it with the other pilot. He just did it, ripped it right off, shut the engine off, perfectly good engine, and he killed it. And I was like, this is what I call a pinger, right? Your emotions get the best of you. Had he just taken a second, potentially even breathed, he probably wouldn't have done that. So when you do this and you feel the emotion and you clear it out, your brain works better. Okay, so on the way home, I was like, oh, simple solution. Solution pops into my head because I get rid of all that. Simple solution. I'm going to take Dave home first. Then I'm going to go get my child, and I'm going to be able to do my live pretty close to being on time. And if I start late, it's okay. No one's going to die from it, right? See how cool that is? It works super well. Okay. What if you feel stuck because you slip up? And so you're like, I slipped up and this isn't working, yada, yada, yada. Those are your thoughts again. That's your ego. Your ego has these stupid thoughts. I call them past agreements, things that your parents put into your head, things that your siblings put into your head, things that the kids that went to school with you put into your head. It's your ego coming back up and being like, you slipped up. You can't do this. Blah, 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 blah. Everybody slips up. Everybody has an emotion. You feel it. You just stop yourself. And if you need to, and you're like, I feel stuck. Like this isn't working. This is what you do. You release and you feel the stuck. Because what is going to happen if I start resisting and being like, you're right, I'm stuck. Like I see this all the time when I'm working with practitioners that are doing kinesthetic muscle testing, like I do when I do sessions with you guys. And they're so stuck on the fact that they're like, my muscle testing isn't working. My muscle testing isn't working. I'm like, yes, and you're resisting it. So your muscle testing is going to still not work, right? Sit with yourself. My muscle testing isn't working. I wonder why. Same thing. I'm getting stuck and my emotions are getting trapped. So feel the stuck. Stuck is an emotion. Frustration. This is curious. You just feel stuck. Stop thinking. You got to stop your thinking. Okay. The other really easy way to get yourself to stop thinking is those sensory stimulus changes, right? Sometimes I run my hands in really warm water or really cold water. It stops you from having thoughts, smelling something, tasting something. Be careful of the eating one, right? It becomes an addiction. Okay. So here's what I'm going to leave you with. I'm going to read a couple of your comments too. Let's see, before I tell you this. Yes, Lisa had some teeth pulled, so you know what Dave is going through. Teresa, I got a message from you. I think it was at 3 something. I think your message came at like 3:45. Yes, why are we feeling anxious, stressed, and scared? Lisa, you're very welcome for your session. And Teresa, I love that you got that witnessing versus victiming. And Teresa, I hope that Brian got it because I did it by email and sent it to him. If his back is not feeling better, let me know. So guys, this is what I'm talking about is Teresa's husband, Brian. He's a client too, and he had some back issues last night. So I worked on him and sent it to him via email. So we can do that. We can do sessions with you via proxy. If you're having some chronic pain, it works really well. Rebecca says the deep breathing and realizing before you speak to someone who you're trying to get you. Yes, it helps you think right before you speak. Trying to calm yourself down with super high anxiety is very frustrating. You're explaining the situations. Great. Thank you. I'm so glad. Patience is key. Have patience with yourself. Yes, I love that. Okay. I want to leave you with some kind of those mental like waha boom moments because they're really good. And then it'll help you understand this. So you got to let go of some common beliefs. That's another way that you can use this process. It's not just for emotions that you're feeling in the moment, but they're for little underlying beliefs. So I'm going to give you a couple of them. Okay, here's one. You ready? Okay, his neck is doing better. His shoulder back is still hurting, he said. All right. We will work on it again for sure. Even if, I don't know what his work schedule is like, but even I could do it in the morning. Okay, so here we go. Ready for some of these? They're going to smack you hard. So be ready. We only deserve things through hard work and struggle. So you only deserve things if you work really hard and it's a struggle. Oh, guess what that is? That's an actual wrong underlying belief. So do you know what that makes people do? It makes you work to the point where you're not even being progressive anymore because you're so exhausted. Anybody guilty of that, right? And then your brain kind of shuts down. You're not being creative anymore. I see this with entrepreneurs a lot. They're working so hard that they're killing themselves. And then their brain isn't working because they can't think of any creative ways to make their business. So I tell them, get rid of this. Think about it. We only deserve things through hard work and struggle. I'm actually using that as an emotion. Instead of resisting it, I'm going to let it go. That's a curious way to think about things. Here's another one. Suffering is beneficial. If you're not suffering, you're not progressing. That's another one. We don't get anything for nothing. All of these things are resistant and hold you back from being able to move forward. How many of these? So here's the last one. Things that are simple are not worth anything. Oh, hello. I've been a believer of every single one of these. And guess what? It stops you from progressing because it is an underlying agreement. And none of these are true. These are thoughts. These are thoughts. It does not mean that if something is complex, that it's worth more than something that is simple. Okay. These are really hard to fight through because I'll tell you the one, let's see, which one was it? We don't get anything for nothing. That one was really hard for me. So guess what that has this problem is that I get myself into this process where things are going really well. And then I start thinking, ooh, things are going really well and I'm too happy. Something really bad's going to happen. That's what that one does for you. That's what that one triggers for you, right? Anticipation of something bad happening. Okay. That's what these things do. They fuel those egotistical thoughts and make us believe that we are not worth stuff. Okay. Fantastic. All right. Feel free to replay. So what are we going to do? We're going to practice. We're going to practice. Now, of course, you know, you can cheat a little bit. For those of you that have done sessions with me, which actually 3 of you that are popping up here typing, I know have. So when you do an energy healing session, we can cheat a little bit, right? Because we can pull some of these out and we can get rid of them quicker. So we find trapped emotions, and I'll tell you, like, you have trapped frustration that you got when you were 12, and then we can get your subconscious to just get rid of it. Okay. So we can do a bunch of clearing. We can do tons of them all at once, even if you want. So that's kind of like the cheater way to do it. But for those of you that have been working with me, this is the way for you to stop from getting them again, right? Because people are like, woo, I clear out all these trapped emotions, but what happens next time I feel this way? Well, number one, and some of you have told me this as well, one of the really beneficial things about getting rid of some of your trapped emotions that you already have is that it stops triggering you. So you don't feel them as strongly next time, or they don't take over your life, or you have the ability to clear them out yourself. And so now when you have an emotion and it starts coming, you're going to feel it. You're going to be like, this is curious. I wonder why I'm feeling like this. I don't actually need to know. I do this sometimes when I'm working on a new methodology. I start catching myself being like, how does this work? Like, how does this exactly work? I catch myself doing this with clients. Like, so-and-so has 0 pain in their knees from a car accident, and they've been feeling that way for 25 years. How does that work? And guess what I start doing, right? Building up past agreements of, oh, this can't work. How does this work? And instead I just sit, that's so interesting. Like, so cool how this works. I don't know how it works, but it works. So I love it because it works. See that? Mind change, mind shift. All right. When you start to do this for yourself, you're going to see a change in you. Sometimes the people around you will see it before you do. They'll just be like, man, you're just like handling things better. You're so much more relaxed. It's great when your kids tell you that, right? You're flowing. Your home will have a different environment to it, a different feel to it, right? I like to call it going from a house of chaos to a home of peace, which is really beautiful when you live in a house like I do, where you have lots of kids at lots of ages. It's nice when everyone is having a kumbaya. You'll see it at work. You'll see it at work. People around you will treat you differently because you attract what you give off. Likeness attracts likeness. So if you have all these emotions and they're all out of control, guess what you're attracting? Oh, other people in your life that are completely out of control, right? So we don't want to have all these crazy things that we can't let go of, because then we attract all these crazy people that we can't let go of. So if you're ready to get ready to get rid of the crazies, make a commitment to yourself. Just be like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it right now. I want to vibe so high that I do not allow anyone vibing at a lower level to be around me. Now, it doesn't mean you're selfish. It doesn't mean, you're too good for everyone else. No, I still help people every day, right? I help people that are not vibing on my level because they have gratitude. And gratitude is a high vibration. So they might not be able to carry their vibrations, but as long as they have gratitude, then guess what? People who have gratitude don't take you for granted. They don't take advantage of you, right? And they actually truly want to heal. And that's why it works. That's how there's a balance. But when it comes to my own little personal circle, no, I don't allow people in my personal circle that are doing anything negative to me. I know if someone's talking bad about me behind my back because I can feel it. I can read you like a book. So I just don't allow it. And I don't hang out with people that do stuff like that. So there you go. All right, you guys, I'm going to go make sure Dave's okay. I love you a lot. Thank you so much for being part of this amazing healing journey for yourself. It's so beautiful for me to watch you guys progress and have such boom moments, right? For you and your family. And there's nothing more that you can give yourself than working on your own personal journey. And remember, focus on you. I know it can be hard. You want to fix everyone in your house. Fix yourself first, and then it has a trickle effect. When you're right, love your guts, Teresa, right? For those of you, what happens? What happens when your spouse sees you and they're like, man, you're acting different? And they're like, yeah, right. I've been working on myself. And they're like, whoa, that's cool, right? I have lots of people tell me that their husbands, their kids, they're like, oh, or their wives talk about it like, you're acting so different. It's so cool. And you're like, yeah, you should make a appointment there, $35, get your life back. Okay. All right. I'm going to go check on Dave. You guys, I will be on tomorrow morning at 7:15, like normal, rock and roll. And I felt like there was something else I was going to say and I can't remember what it was. So I don't know. Okay. All right. Thanks so much. You guys have a beautiful rest of your night. And thank you for joining. Oh, next week. Next week, it's going to be talking about how to love yourself more. So that's what I was going to say. All right. See